Yo, what is up, everyone? I have been enjoying Welcome to Derry so much. Season 1 has been so good, and I have an absolute wild theory for you guys. I'll be explaining the timeline, key events, some stuff that happened in the intro that really stood out to me, and basically that is what the theory is. But so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. It's gonna be wild. I forgot to mention that this video contains spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movies or the TV show, I watched that before you watch this. Before we actually get into the actual theory itself, I'm just going to catch you guys up on the timeline of Welcome to Derry and how it connects to the timeline with the It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, the movies that came out in 2017 to 2019. So if you guys don't know, It Welcome to Derry is a prequel series that takes place 27 years in the past from the first events from the 2017 movie. The people that are working on Welcome to Derry stated that each season is going to focus mainly on the three major events that Ben reads and talks about in the library and then later explains to the losers group in the 2017 movie. So with that information, we know that Season 1 is already based in 1962 and it covers the major event in that timeline, which is the Black Spot. Season 2 is going to cover the gang robbery in 1935. That is going to be the major event in that timeline. And in Season 3, it's going to be covering 1908. 1908 is the one that we already know. 1908, 100% is going to be based on the Ironworks explosion because that's one of the major, if not like the more important one, that Ben reads in the library. Now, just to point out a few things that really stood out to me in the intro and what is basically driving my theory. So one of the first things that stood out and kind of just screamed this is something major is the fact that we got to see Juniper Hill. Not only that, just before we get the full shot of Juniper Hill, we see a kid getting lobotomized. I'm gonna come back to that, just hold that in your thought for a second. Another thing that really stood out to me is that we got to see the old well house, or the Neilbolt Street house. For the sake of this video, I'm just gonna refer it to the old well house. But in the shot that we do get to see, we see the house has fresh paint, a family getting a photo taken in front of it with a child noticing something in the window. Now, I feel like these both have a bigger meaning and they're possibly foreshadowing some major events that's going to happen in the future. But I'm going to start doing a deep dive into the information that I found, so get ready for this. But so, first off, I want to start out by comparing the houses between the different generations that we've seen it already. So this right here is from the 2017 movie, which takes place during the Losers Club timeline, and that's from 1988. In this shot, we see the house is gray, looks more run down, it has stuff overgrown on it, and just overall looks more abandoned. But in Season 1 of Welcome to Derry, we also got to see the old well house again, but this time it looks a little bit more upkept, with it being a little bit more blue in my opinion, having a little bit more whiter highlights, and it's less overgrown. And now if we compare both of those houses to the intro's house looks brand new or refurbished with white finish around the windows and the sides of the house. And also it doesn't have anything overgrown on the top of the house like in the 2017 movie and Season 1. Now, this is what made me really think that the house is going to play a major role in Season 2. So like I also said earlier, Season 2 is going to take place in 1935. But one of the plot holes I ran into early on is that just the fact of the wells have been there more longer than most of the houses of Derry. So the fact of the plot hole was that the well has always been there, so the well house either was built with the well or the well was built first and eventually at some point the house was built on top of it. But I found something in the 2017 movie that completely changed my mind into thinking that the well house was built afterwards, not with the well. So in the 2017 movie, when Ben brings everyone back to his house to show the evidence that he did, or the research that he did on Derry, he shows them, or for a quick second we get to see the original well house. I'll pull up the image right now, but this is what the original well house looked like. And just before we see the well house, they're talking about an event that happened in 1908, which is the Ironworks explosion. And the artwork from 1908 and also the artwork from the original well photo They're both in black and white, so I assume that the well was built in 1908. And also a big key point is that there isn't a house on top of the well, there was just a shack. So all this evidence is pointing to me, at least, saying that, hey, this well was built in 1908, and at some point, maybe in 1935, the house was built. And that plays into part with the house that we saw in the intro. But I also ran into another plot hole. That other plot hole was the fact that, so the exterior of the house was built for set purposes, but the interior of the old well house was based on a house that was like a heritage building or just a historical location that they used for filming. But so that place was built in 1902, so that originally made me thinking, okay, the house has to be built in 1908 because the original house, the actual house that it's based on, was built in 1902. But I have more supporting evidence that just suggests basically that no, the house is built in 1935, and let me get into that. So the evidence that I found is that in the photo, like I said, we see a family getting a photo taken in front of the house. So the clothing that they are wearing in this photo looks like it has to be from 1935, because in 1908 comparing to 1935, there's a drastic change of style. So I'll pull up two photos and show them on the screen right now, just comparing the two. And just from the looks of it, it looks like this clothing is based in 1935 era. Also, another plot hole device that I ran into again is that the photographer in the background, he's using a box camera. But in 1935, box cameras were starting to fade out because they're being more favored of the portable, smaller cameras. But photographers, people who are professional photographers or traveling photographers, still use those box cameras. And I'm pretty sure I found a similar camera that looks identical to it. And I'll pull it up on screen. It's the later Sanderson something, but it was made in 1935 and it was used during that time. And one last piece of information that I just discovered recently is I was just rewatching the 2017 movie of It. Something that stood out to me a little bit extra is when the Losers Club first enters the well house. So everyone in the Losers Club gets split up, and Richie thinks that he sees Eddie in the clown room. But so Richie enters the clown room, and he's scared because his fear is clowns. But so he touches one of the clowns, and it makes like a legitimate sound. So what that tells me, sure, yeah, Pennywise is in the room and he used the fact that, hey, look, there's clowns in here because he's scared of clowns to scare him. But I think that also tells us, the viewers, that those clowns in that room are legitimate clowns in that room. And that's going to play a big role in my theory in the future. So I'm about to get into that, so get ready for it. Alrighty, so I explained all the information I wanted to say, so now we can actually get into the theory. So my theory for season 2 of Welcome to Derry will be a family moving into the well house. I think this because judging off of the intro of what we get to see of the well house, it looks like that is a family that has just moved into the house and they asked a photographer to take a picture because they want to remember the moment when they moved in. But unfortunately, Pennywise, living in the sewers, just realized there's a fresh meal living directly above his lair. Now that kid in the shot, he's noticing something in the window. So what this tells me is that this kid is going to realize that there's something wrong with the house they just moved into. And I feel like, okay, the reason why I mentioned the clown thing earlier is because I think this is what is going to happen. So during 1935, clowns are not scary whatsoever. They're not scary at all. If anything, people love clowns. So my theory is that one of the father, the mother, or the daughter is obsessed with clowns. So in the well house from the 2017 movie, when we see the room filled with clowns with drapes over top of them, I believe this is the old family's collection of clowns. But I believe that the family that moves in, so one of the kids, starts seeing Pennywise, and Pennywise starts fucking with him. So Pennywise, just being himself, he's like trying to induce fear into this child. And while he's doing this, he's in a clown costume, right? So I believe that this kid, the kid that is in this photo here, who notices Pennywise, starts trying to tell his family, like, hey, there is a clown in our house trying to kill us. But the family being obsessed with clowns and just referring clowns to a friendly creature because that's what they were referred to at the time, they start to ignore the kid and be like, hey, Just stay out of the clown room and you'll be fine. Stop it. Stop causing a scene. We know you want attention. But Pennywise will continue and continue to drive fear into this kid and make it to a point where he continuously tells his family that he keeps seeing a clown in the house. So this is where Juniper Hill ties in. So like I said, season 2 is going to take place in 1935, and what this means to do with Juniper Hill is during 1935, it's 5 years after lobotomies are first being used in mental hospitals. So knowing that information, it makes me think that one of the kids, the kid that moves into the house, starts noticing that Pennywise is fucking with him. But because his family owns a bunch of clowns, and clowns are not even seen as scary, they think that their child is losing their mind. So the only option that they know and probably think, and probably with the influence of Pennywise himself, they force this child to get a lobotomy. Or the other way Juniper Hill will play out, because I almost am 100% certain that lobotomies are going to play a major role in season 2, judging off of the intro, is that one of the loser club kids of 1935 will get a lobotomy. One of the cast members are going to get a lobotomy. That I feel like that is going to happen. I feel like it more leans into the family with the clown collectibles side, but we'll see how it goes. Alrighty, we've reached 11 minutes of the video, so I'm gonna have to cut it off right here. But if you guys enjoyed this theory, make sure you leave a like, and if you have any opinions on my theory, make sure you leave a comment down below. I love reading your comments, it's awesome. But thank you guys so much for letting me steal your time. I hope you have a wonderful day. I am hyped for the last episode. Let's see if it changes my theory. But thank you guys, and have a great day.